Hey guys, Brendan from TAC. And so I want to follow on from my previous video about some water in the fuel for a Camry, and during my interesting week with fuel systems, another one. So we've got a Yaris where the fuel filter is actually causing a rich condition. Okay, so we had a Yaris that was booked in. So the customer complained, he had no check engine light or anything like that, so just purely a drivability type complaint. So again, the initial question asking time was probably what steered us in the right direction. So very important to get as much information as possible in your diagnosis. He said that when it had a full tank, it seemed like it was a bit lethargic, like it would sort of splutter sometimes, and he'd also get a bit of a fuel smell. So okay, well, I'm going to have to put the tank to fuel. Obviously he brings it in with a quarter tank, so we need to recreate the situation. So it was going fine, checking fuel trims, you know, just doing your basic checks, until I went and filled it up at the servo, and as soon as I got a full tank in it, sure enough, just as he was saying, we're starting to get some rich trims there. Nothing too drastic at this point, and I didn't get to experience the problem unfortunately, but enough that I was getting, I was having negative fuel trims, so I was getting over -10 fuel trim being pulled out, so it's taking fuel away. Just at idle, it would actually, you know, be pretty consistent through the rev range, so it wasn't changing too much, but enough that, okay, we've got a problem going on here. Whenever I see rich conditions, so when we're taking fuel trim away, one of the first places I generally go and look is the canister purge valve and the whole canister purge setup. So usually it's as quick as just blocking off the line from the tank to the canister purge, whether it's with a pair of pliers or whatever you can do, taking the valve out and checking if it's sealing, all those kinds of things. But basically I could take the pipe from the canister purge valve off the intake manifold, just block the intake with my finger, and straight away we're starting to get our trims going back towards zero. So I started to think, okay, we're onto something here. I know which way to head at least. So I knew I was heading back towards the tank and trying to see why I was just getting so much hydrocarbon basically coming through at idle, which is typically not a time that they'll really use the purge valve as much, but definitely this was an excessive amount that I was getting through. You know, we were getting quite heavy negative fuel trims. So went into the tank, pulled out the in-tank filter, and I was quite surprised by what I've seen. I haven't seen it before. So got the intake filter set up on the Yaris, so that's your filter, and this is the charcoal canister setup. And I'll get you a shot of what I saw in the top here, which is charcoal canister. So you'll see down the bottom here, when I swish that around, that's raw fuel. Well, that's fuel inside our charcoal canister section. So I looked under, and we've got two check valve type areas. So there's a valve inside here, and then also this little ball bearing here that I can blow some air onto. To be honest, I don't understand exactly how these systems work. I've never had one apart or whatnot, but I'm going to take the chance to cut this one open. But long story short, essentially I'd say one of these valves has failed, and we're getting raw fuel sucked up into there when the tank is high enough that they're submerged in fuel, and then yeah, we're sucking raw fuel straight through that canister purge valve. So quite a weird one again. I've never seen an intake filter fail in this way. Certainly let me know if you have, but yeah, generally it's more, particularly on these ones, going in the bottom of the fuel filter there is where your pressure regulator is, so it has a decently large 20-cent piece O-ring that goes on the regulator, and usually when you take the reg out, the O-ring is swollen to the point that you put it back on and you can feel it's just not a good seal. 9 times out of 10 that's going to get you a long crank situation or a lean code, and it's not going to work. So I definitely recommend, you know, some O-rings are definitely reusable and you don't have much other choice when you're doing in-tank fuel filters, but the regulator 20-cent piece size ones on these Toyotas, definitely keep them in stock, and I would never chance reusing them. But fuel inside the charcoal canister, hey, so from a valve that, yeah, I'm going to cut it apart just as I do with most things to try and learn how it works, but something to look out for if you've ever got a rich condition, particularly on a Yaris. Thanks guys, I'll catch you next time.